welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, Recruiting and Yoga Pants. All right, we're gonna jump right in. It's our first video of 2021, y'all. So this is an interesting milestone. We made it an entire year. I'm pretty stoked about that. I didn't think we would. I thought, I've said this before, well, I'll make 5 or 6 videos, we'll have some laughs, it'll be fun, and then I'll move on to another hobby. And here we are, a year later, still churning out content. So I hope that you're finding it helpful. It's helpful for me, selfishly, because it forces me to test my own beliefs. And it forces me, if I'm gonna come onto this channel and say something that's gonna go out onto the internet forever, I better be able to back it up. So thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in every week, those of you that are regular watchers, and thank you for making me back up my shit. This has been a really, I think you all have made me a better recruiter by holding me accountable for the advice and the insights that I'm sharing with you. So y'all are the real MVPs. Thank you for that. Along those lines this week, we're gonna dig into the most common complaints that I hear from hiring managers, and this is consistent. This is across different companies. This is across different levels of seniority. This is across industries, large, small, doesn't matter. The one most common complaint, I hear a lot, but the most common complaint that crosses all of these lines are resumes that lack context. Okay, I've heard this said a number of different ways by many different managers. They'll look at a resume and say, well, that person just loaded it with a bunch of keywords. Sit with that for a minute, okay? That person just put a bunch of keywords on their resume. This resume is stuffed with industry buzzwords. I don't know what this person's actually done. They've just put a bunch of words on here that they thought I wanted to see, but I don't see how they use this tool. I don't see what they accomplished with this methodology. Those kinds of things. Like, this is super common feedback from hiring managers. So a lot of thought leaders and so-called experts are out here telling you guys to play keyword bingo and just shove a bunch of words into your technical skills section. And oh, even better, let me tell you about this tiny white font trick, which is like one of the stupider things you could do to your resume, honestly. It was old bad news 10 years ago. You think it's clever now? Bless your heart. I mean, it's just, no, don't do that. So this is a common complaint. This is a common frustration that hiring managers have. And so there's a couple of things that we can do from that starting point. One, if I see the right words on the resume, it may give me enough to at least want to ask the question. It may be enough, depending on the volume, depending on how many other people I've said yes to, or better yet, than a hiring manager I said yes to, you might get a phone call, maybe. And that's a big maybe, because it depends on the competition, depends on how many other people we're also talking to that have provided the context. But if I were to call you up and say, hey, thank you for applying. I'm calling about, this is the role you applied to, and I saw your resume and I wanted to ask you some questions. I noticed you put physics of failure on your resume. Tell me about how you've used that concept. Tell me about what you've modeled and what is the context around your knowledge and use of physics of failure, as an example. If you're not able to back that up with some specific context, with a specific accomplishment or a situation or a task or something that you are involved in, my manager's not going to want to interview you. So two big ideas out of this week, okay? One is make sure, first and foremost, that you are able to back up what goes on your resume. If you are putting a tool on your resume, and if you are saying, I am proficient in this thing, especially if it's required for the job, make sure you are able to back it up. You should be able to articulate to a recruiter, to a hiring manager certainly, how you have used said skill. The second thing, back it up on your resume. Because I know a lot of people are kind of running with the assumption that, well, there's just this bot I have to be, and I just have to, get past the ATS. There's no getting past the ATS. It doesn't even make sense. We'll talk about that another time. Anyway, you have a lot of job seekers, I think, have this flawed perception that if I just put enough keywords into my resume and I get past the robots that don't exist, then I'll be able to sell myself. If you're not articulating that in your resume, you're not even getting an opportunity to talk about your skills, experience, and expertise. So that is what I want you to learn from today. That is the takeaway from this week's video, is that hiring managers are very, very clued in to this idea of keyword stuffing, buzzword bingo. Like, these are intelligent people, okay? They did not get to where they are. They are not out here building companies because they're gonna fall for a tiny white font trick. This isn't even about recruiters anymore, because I know, recruiters are evil, recruiters are dumb, recruiters are useless, we should just fire them all and throw them into a fiery pit. Okay, that's fine. You're allowed to think that. But do you think hiring managers are that dumb? Serious question, y'all. Because getting past the ATS or past the recruiter is the first supposed step in this very lengthy process of data gathering and decision making. So even if I were to play along and say, oh yeah, recruiters are dumb, you should just get past us and, beat the bot. Hiring managers are smarter than that. Even if you don't think I am, I'll promise you hiring managers are, okay? Hiring managers want context. A hiring manager, for the most part, is going to have a singular focus. They're going to be looking for a certain kind of person to come and do a certain kind of work, and they need to see the signals and the data points and the information that points to your ability to perform said function. Okay, I've already kind of talked through like the physics of failure example. That's a very specialized concept and tool or methodology, if you will, that is used in some of the roles I've been recruiting for. And there's any number of them. You could plug this into any number of industries, roles, hiring needs. Your resume is your first shot at getting the right attention. Okay? Write it for the audience. Write it for the person who is able to make that yes or no decision. I want y'all, when the next time you are preparing your resume and you're about to hit send on that application, okay? Put yourself in the hiring manager's shoes. Pretend that you yourself, and I know many of you have had this position, okay? Put yourself in the position of building a team. And you are looking for someone like you to come and do a function and solve a problem. What is it that you need to see? I know a lot of you are going to come from an emotional, frustrated, been out of work a while, getting really tired of this recruiting shit place. and you're going to immediately, well, I'd give him a chance and I'd call him and I'd talk to him and I wouldn't make assumptions and I would times that times 50 or 100 or 150. How many resumes do you realistically have the time to look at? If you are a hiring manager, recruiters, that's all we do. That's our full-time job. Looking at resumes, moving people through the process, holding your hand all the way to offer stage and beyond. That's my job. My hiring managers are doing insanely technical engineering stuff. Hiring is important. Spending time with recruiting is important. Spending time looking at resumes is important. Spending time interviewing is important. But it's that much of their day job. Think about that when you are writing your next resume. What is it that you want this incredibly busy, highly talented, very motivated to hire person to know about you? And make sure you share that with your recruiter as well. I always end my recruiting calls with prospective candidates with, is there anything we have not talked about that we should, or anything you would like the hiring manager to know about you that we have not covered yet? It's an important question, y'all, and sometimes that gets us back on the right track or gets us that nugget of gold, that little bit of insight we needed to push your application over the edge. Okay? So think about that. This, again, the number one complaint from hiring teams, we just don't see the context. We just see a bunch of keywords. We're just seeing, all of these nonsense terms that are meaningless without data. Don't take my word for it. This is coming straight from the source, y'all. All right? So write for your audience, which is your hiring managers, and let me know what you think down below. I hope this was helpful. There's a lot to unpack on this topic, and I tried to keep it as high level, but yet still as detailed as I could in 10 minutes, 12 minutes. But really hope that this has given you some food for thought and gives you an opportunity to take a second critical look at your resume before you hit send. We'll see you next week.